Alrighty, welcome everybody to the winter webinar series that the Western Lake Erie Basin Advisory Group is hosting this winter. My name is Allison Bressler, and I'm the program manager for the Western Lake Erie Basin Advisory Group, which is a group of many of you are members of or support in some way. It's a community group that helps to solve phosphorus pollution problems in collaboration with the state of Michigan in Michigan's Western Lake Erie Basin. And again, we're hosting this winter webinar series that will occur from now until April on Wednesdays at noon. And Rachel's going to post in the chat a link where you can find the rest of the webinars for this year, where you can register for them if you are interested. And thank you for attending today's webinar. So this series of webinars is intended to provide an easy way for the community to be updated on projects that are occurring in the watershed. And so we're going to start today with a presentation by a team of students at the University of Michigan who I work with through the University of Michigan Water Center. And they are going to present on a nutrient reduction projects database that they have created a pilot for, and that will continue on for the coming years. And so I'm now going to pass it off to them after a few housekeeping things. So you'll notice that you've been muted upon entry to the Zoom room. Please stay muted throughout the Zoom webinar so that we don't have any background noise. Please use the chat function to post all of your questions. So as you think of questions, type them in the chat. If there are easy questions to answer, our team will respond in the chat. If we think they deserve some discussion at the end, we will reserve some time for that. Justin is going to be managing the questions and we'll ask them on your behalf at the end. All right, so I think that's all of my housekeeping issues. If you have any problems with the Zoom or you have any direct questions, feel free to direct message me or the team. And I hope that you enjoy the presentation. So now I'm going to pass it off to Maddie.
Great, thank you, Allison, and thank you all for taking the time to attend our webinar today. We're excited to be here with you. We are the Western Lake Erie Basin Nutrient Reduction Projects Database. Now I'd like to start with a brief introduction of our team. We are all Dow Fellows at the University of Michigan pursuing graduate degrees. We have Justin Thompson. He is in the School of Public Policy in the School of Environment and Sustainability. We also have Christina Bonet, who is in the School of Engineering. Myself, Maddie Turk, I am in the law school. Rachel Zupke is in the School of Information. And then finally, Yi Wang is in the School of Environment and Sustainability. Now, we won't really discuss the problem of algal blooms in Lake Erie because we assume most of you are well aware of the problem that we're all trying to tackle. Instead, we'd like to start with a quick test. So my teammate Justin will be posting a poll, and the question that we are posing to all of you is, what is the phosphorus reduction target set by Michigan? So we'll give you a little bit of time to answer the question and see the results as they come in. All right, awesome. It looks like most of you got the correct answer. It is 40%. So 40% is the target that we are all working towards to reduce nutrient pollution in the Western Lake Erie Basin, or Lake Erie overall. So thank you, Justin. We can end that poll. All right. So Christina, we can go to the next slide. All right, for our project, we partnered with the Western Lake Erie Basin Advisory Group. And Allison gave a nice introduction to this group, but just to say a teeny bit more, this group was formed to help coordinate efforts to reduce nutrient pollution in the WLEB with members that span a number of different organizations, some of which are listed on this slide. In the summer of 2023, Allison conducted interviews with advisory group members to identify obstacles they encounter in combating nutrient pollution in Lake Erie. One member voiced the need to coordinate and prioritize efforts. To quote, "If everyone is working in silos, make them glass silos so everyone knows what others are working on." Other members of the group shared this frustration, and after additional discussions, two key themes emerged as barriers to improving the health of Lake Erie: a lack of cohesion and limited public information about nutrient reduction efforts. To address these issues, Allison identified a potential solution, which is the creation of an interactive platform that gathers and shares information about nutrient reduction projects in Michigan's Western Lake Erie Basin. Throughout the past year, our team has been working with Allison to make this project come to life. Ultimately, the goals of this project are to promote more transparent communication and increase long-term collaboration. To meet these goals, our team created a survey to collect the project information that populates the Nutrient Reduction Projects database. In the future, this database will be transformed into an interactive web map. Although we did not develop and publish a final version of this web map, we created a prototype to demonstrate how future individuals can use the map to learn about ongoing efforts to reduce nutrient pollution in the WLEB. Now, I'd like to use this timeline to dive in a bit deeper into the work we did throughout the past year. We started our project work in March of 2024, when we jumped right into determining exactly what information would be useful to include in the database. To make this determination, we conducted extensive interviews with advisory group members and community leaders, concurrently developing and seeking feedback on a draft survey, which would be used to populate the database. After several iterations of the survey and many rounds of revisions, we published the final survey in June. After that, we entered a period of data collection, where we focused on attending community events and conducting outreach to solicit survey responses. In October, we ended our pilot data collection period and moved on to developing a prototype of an interactive web map. We felt it was important to create this visualization to demonstrate the future of the database and how we expect it to be used by the public. Throughout these last few months, we also wrote a thorough succession plan for the new team of Dow Fellows who will inherit this project in February. The new Dow team will carry on and expand our efforts to market and establish the database. After that broad overview, we'll now take a closer look at the survey that we published in June of 2024. For our survey, we chose to use ArcGIS Survey123. We settled on this platform because it is easy to use, but still possesses the technical power we need to transfer the data into a map later on. Right now, we only seek information on currently funded projects, but welcome projects of a wide variety, including physical, social, and planning projects. We expect our database users to primarily include municipalities or local governments, conservation groups, farmer associations and agriculture retailers, watershed councils, academics and researchers, and state agencies. Additional users include individual producers, engaged citizens, and partners increasing awareness of their work. Now, we know how difficult it can be to find time in your day for additional responsibilities, so we chose to provide 3 submission options to try and flexibly meet your needs. The first and most commonly used option is to provide the database team with your project's written information by email, which we will then use to fill out the survey on your behalf. Of course, before finalizing the information, we will seek your input and make all needed edits. The second option is to schedule an interview with the database team. During that interview, we can help you fill out the survey and answer any questions you may have. Finally, you can also complete the survey independently. And now, while we're on this subject, I'd like to ask you all to please reach out to us after this webinar if you have an outstanding project that you believe belongs in the database. We are happy to do whatever we can to help you with your submission. And with that, I will pass it off to my teammate Christina to do an in-depth demo on how to fill out the survey.
All right, thank you, Maddie. So as Maddie said, I'm going to lead us through a brief demonstration of a recent project that was submitted to us by Brittany and Thad. So thank you so much for your guys' contribution and for letting us share the project today. So when you first open up the survey, you will be presented with a brief overview of some basic information that the survey will be collecting, and some just so you have the information ready to go. We anticipate the project completing the survey takes between 15 and 20 minutes. But again, if you would like to send the information to us and have us fill it out, that is more than welcome. So then once you press next, you are presented with just a consent to share your information. All the information that you submit is going to be available publicly. So we just want to make sure that you are okay and aware of that before you submit. So the person submitting the survey should enter their information here. And then after that, we dive into collecting, that initial project information. So the first field is to provide the name of your project. I know some projects have very long names, some have shorter names. If you would like to keep it, visible length for people, that is mostly appreciated. Then please provide a brief 2 to 3 sentence description of the scope of your project work. This is really intended for people to get a brief overview without details, to know if they want to learn more about the work you're doing. And so for this project, the Western Lake Erie Basin Conservation for Water Quality project, the scope, so we're all on the same page about the type of project we're looking at, is to provide incentive payments to farmers in the Western Lake Erie Basin for implementing best management practices which will reduce the nutrient and sediment loading in cropland runoff being transported to surface waters within the WLEB. District technicians will be using tools developed by Eagle and other partners to prioritize outreach and conservation efforts on priority fields, which are likely to be vulnerable to nutrient loss. So, as I said, a general description of the work being done. Then, if applicable, what are the specific milestones or phases of your project? Include specific timeline information if relevant. So these milestones will vary significantly based on the size of the project. A smaller project might only have one milestone, which is the completion of the project. Others might have 4 or 5 if they're larger projects that are taking over courses of longer years. So for this project, you can see develop the funding program, then launch and advertise funding program, sign up farmers to develop conservation plans and contract practices. Milestone 4, implement conservation plans and evaluate. And then the final milestone, submit progress report to the EPA. So as you can see, these milestones kind of just work through like a planning to action to wrap up phases of a project. What is the current status of the project? So is this project in the planning stages? Maybe you haven't received funding yet. Is it ongoing or is it complete? And we, include this as the projects will be updated over the course of time. So projects, once they're finished, will be marked as complete by the team. What is your project start date? For this, we're looking for the date you first received funding. We know tons of effort might go in before that date, but for the purpose of this database and to keep consistency, really just the date that you received your initial funding. And then, if applicable, what is your project's anticipated end date? This could be extended in the future. Things may change, but for now, at the time of, completing this project, when do you think it will be completed? And then list key partners, organizations assisting with the project, including your own. And there's some information on how to, maybe format this to make it easy for the team to sort out later. But then we also ask not to include funding organizations. We know a lot of times people work really closely with funding organizations, but for the purpose of this, we're looking at, partners that are really contributing significantly to the work of the project. So for this project, you can see Eagle, Water Resources Division, and then multiple conservation districts are all involved in this work happening. And the next, and maybe some people might feel the most important information for, increasing collaboration is that contact information. So the primary contact is really someone that will be responsive if someone is looking to get involved or find out more information on the project, if they want to do similar work or, contribute to what's going on. So some information such as name, email, phone number, if you're willing to share, and what organization you're part of. And then some groups have general organizational emails to share, especially if, this is helpful in turnover of employees or people moving to different roles. And so this can just help with consistency throughout the timeline of a project so that there's always someone that you can contact if you're looking to learn more. And then again, alternative contact. So you see here, Thad and Brittany are listed. Thank you guys again for letting us share the information on your project. And then a last question, which many people that attended our workshop at the advisory group meeting in June were excited to include is, are you open to new collaborations or partnerships on this project? So this is definitely helpful as we are sharing this information with the group and publicly for people to know if this is something that they could get involved in or, be a partner of. So then next. We're soliciting funding information on projects. So the total budget as of the date, you are submitting the survey. There's some information on the format that is helpful for us if you include it in that format. And then the funding organizations for this project. Please list them in order of highest to lowest funding. That's helpful for us. But of course, we're also there to help guide any confusions you have. This project is funded by the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative. So here's that full name listed out for that. Can individuals or organizations apply for funding to participate in your project? Does this project have sub-awardees? So for this project, yes. We hope this project really helps people find opportunities to find funding for their organization or to get involved. And again, increase collaboration and information of where there are opportunities to participate in other work and get funding for things. And then from the following options, please select the main focus areas of your project. So this is looking at the budget information and thinking about, where is most of the budget going towards? Is it design, building, and implementing a physical thing such as a wetland, restoring a wetland, or cover crop initiatives? Is it an outreach and communication centered project? Is it more focused on planning? Is it a research project or general operations? Are you funding staff and administrators for work to be completed? So for this project, you see 2 are selected. And then just to follow up on that question, if you're willing to share, please outline major categories and percentages of your budget. So for this project, you can see, around 13.5% of the project is being funded. Money is going towards general operations, and 86.5% is going towards building and implementing those the best management practices through farmer incentive payments. So again, we are here to help. Allison and the future teams are here to be involved in incorporating this information into the survey if this feels like a lot. But so then after the funding information, looking more at the impact of the project and more ways, a lot of these questions are also aimed to help users search for your project in the database. And so think about, when you're answering these questions, what fields might trigger, what fields and answers you would want to help people find your project if they're looking at a list of 20 projects. The first 2, what are the expected short-term results of your project? What are the expected long-term environmental impacts of your project? These were changed for any of you at the June advisory group meeting that participated in our workshop. These were reworded to help increase clarity of what we're looking for. And so for short-term results of your project, we're looking at more so things that have been developed. Was there a methodology? Were there newsletters published, outreach materials, a best management practice, like cover crops implemented over a certain course of an area? So for this project, you can see implement a wide range of stacked BMPs on 10,000 acres of cropland in the Western Lake Erie Basin. Sign 100 contracts with producers to develop conservation plans. So these are more short-term, direct things that have happened. And then what are expected long-term environmental impacts of your project? We're looking at more of things that are going to impact the ecosystem for in a greater context. Thinking about reducing phosphorus application and loading by 6,500 pounds per year. Reduce stormwater and sediment runoff, leading to reduced harmful algal blooms in the WLEB. And for projects, they also might not be as tangible or that, but more so on relationship building, so trust building with producers to increase participation in best management practices that will contribute to reduction of phosphorus, fertilizer application, and stormwater runoff. So again, if these are fields that you're not quite sure about and you're filling out the form, you can skip them and email the team and say, I couldn't quite figure this part out, or wasn't sure if this was, would love your input on if these are accurate, and send us any, proposal or our project report, and we can help pick those out for you. And then another really important part of this project is creating an interactive platform. And so rather than having a list of 20 projects, we hope that we'll have an interactive map, which we'll talk more about later. But as part of that, we have developed different ways to ask about the location information for your project. And so when you're answering this first question on, is your project work focused on the entire basin, a specific location, a pinpoint on a map, that means, a specific county, a HUC 8 watershed, a HUC 12 watershed. Think about how your project is best represented on a map and how it would look and the geographic area that it's impacting. So for this project, it is focused on a HUC 8 watershed. And so this then triggers another question to be asked about which watersheds are being impacted or improved, in this case, by the work of this project. So here they selected the 4 watersheds that they are part of. If you had selected a specific location, a map comes up, or counties, a list of counties that appear in the Western Lake Erie Basin. So that is more on the location information. And then the next questions, again, are really aiming at how your project could be sorted for or filtered for in an interactive database platform so people can easily find it. So when you're answering these questions, I'm not going to read all the options or really go into these in more detail. They're more self-explanatory, thinking about, how would someone identify my project as if they were looking for it in a database. So is it point source or non-point source? What is the project focused on? What type of area? If it's rural, suburban, urban? And if based on the answer to this question, different best management practices will come up in following questions for you to select that your project might be incorporating. So for this project that's focused in rural, these are the best management practices they were able to identify that they are using. And then the last thing we ask for is just any sort of information or links that you would like to include. So if someone found your project on the database and they're looking for more information or learning more about your organization or more about the topic in general, whatever you would like to share, there's some spots for links. And then at the end, you'd press submit. We might not be able to submit today because ArcGIS is having some slight difficulties, but if it did submit, you would just be presented with our email, a thank you, and a way, oh, there it goes. So thank you. You can contact us, and if you would like to submit another response, there's a link directly to that. So with that, I'm going to pause. I don't know if there were any questions on any of the survey information that we can answer quickly. Otherwise, we'll continue. Oh, and we have a poll question too. Have you interacted or filled out with the survey? We'd love to know. Okay. So for those of you who have answered no, which is seeming to be a majority of you, we will provide the link at the end of this presentation, and we'd love for you to reach out to us if you have a project you would like to fill out or to have us help you fill out or to fill out yourself. We'll provide you with that information at the end. So about only 2 of you in this webinar have participated in the survey, so that means there's lots of room for more projects to be included. All right. Now, to continue with the survey presentation. All right, so for our team, we did a lot of the data collection. You guys might have interacted with us at the advisory group meeting in June where we held a workshop. We also attended the regenerative agriculture tour and a conservation district field day this fall, the Washtenaw County Conservation District field day. And so in all of these events, we really found it was helpful for people that have already taken time out of their day to contribute to the survey, to contribute again, to also, not to contribute, sorry, people that have already taken time out of their day to participate in the events. This was an easier time to also participate in the survey, and we were there to help you. So we believe the next DAO team and the next group that is taking over this project will continue to be involved in these events so that they are there to help you all fill out the survey. And so during those events, we collected about 18 survey responses, and during that 3-month period, we have about 23 as of today. So these projects vary a lot by implementation, outreach, planning, research, general operations. And so you can see that this survey is really helpful because it can collect information from projects of various purpose, various size, but also it will really help people in your shoes find projects that are differing and hopefully collect a really wide variety of information. Another interesting part of that just 3-month period where we had 18 projects, over 58 partner and funding organizations were listed. And so this is a word map of that information of all those organizations. So larger projects, larger names were listed multiple times, smaller ones were listed fewer times. But so you can see how many organizations are just contributing to 18 projects. And so this is a group of people that you are all a part of that, really works very well together, and we want to, help make those connections stronger and easier to find. And so 72% of the projects also said they were open to collaboration. And so that means there's plenty of opportunities to get involved if, you can find the right project. And so now Maddie will talk about some of those projects that we want to highlight that were collected during the initial period.
All right, thank you, Christina. Yeah, we just wanted to showcase some of the amazing projects that have been submitted to the database. One of our ultimate aims is to highlight projects like these, both through the database itself and through future marketing materials like newsletters. So the first project we have today is the Farmer-Led Watershed Conservation Group. This group helps farmers adopt best management practices to improve soil health, increase crop yields, reduce farm input costs, minimize nutrient loss, and enhance water quality in the Western Lake Erie Basin. One of the major ways this group supports other farmers is by providing a wide range of programs, including education, technical support, and financial assistance. This work is funded through the end of 2025 with a $550,000 budget. The Phosphorus Reduction Wetland Restoration Pilot Project demonstrates how wetland restoration helps reduce nutrient pollution in the WLEB watershed. Project partners purchase marginal agricultural land, restore it to wetlands, and monitor nutrient reduction. The long-term goal is to reduce nutrient outputs from the restored wetland basin area by 50%. This project is estimated to be complete by the end of 2026 and has a $1.8 million budget. Healthy soils, healthy waters will enhance knowledge of soil health and water quality in southeastern Michigan, focusing on regenerative practices in the WLEB. By linking farm management to soil microbiome health and monitoring water quality, the team aims to improve predictions of management impacts. Results will inform conservation programs and engage the agricultural community for co-learning. This project is funded through spring 2029 and has a $4 million budget. The final project we'd like to highlight today is the Water Quality Monitoring Network. This project expands water quality monitoring in Michigan's 5 priority sub-watersheds to establish baseline water quality conditions, explore lower-cost monitoring approaches at a sub-watershed scale, and understand soluble reactive phosphorus trends in the WLEB. The project runs through the third quarter of 2029 and has a $5.4 million budget. And now I will pass it back to Christina.
All right. Yeah. So as we said, that we have been in the process of developing a web platform that would be interactive, easier to view than a list of projects, to help people visualize all and find projects that they are looking for. And so we have developed a prototype for this because of the various ways we want to be able to showcase projects based on location. We are enlisting GIS specialists in the future that will work with the future team to help create creative solutions to do so. But I will play a short video now demonstrating, how this could look for someone interacting with the website in the future. So here you can see there'd be a map based on counties in this case. Selecting a county would create a list of projects. You could then look for a project, have a link to the additional projects to add. Yeah, and so I'll go through some more of those details now. And so for this prototype, we only have the Western Lake Erie Basin visual by a county. However, in the future, there'd also be a way to view that same area, the Western Lake Erie Basin, by watersheds. And so that is the first way that you would be able to filter projects based on selecting one of those counties. The projects would appear to change. Additionally, there are other filters. These are some of the initial ones we have identified, such as how much the total budget is, what is the funding source, who is the organization running the project or the primary organization for the project, and is that project open to collaboration. So in that, selecting one of those responses would again filter this list of projects. And I think now we have another poll question that Justin can appear that involves, yeah, we can answer this one. So what is the main reason you would use this resource? Awesome. Yeah, so you can see this, to find existing projects. And we'd love if any of you have other ideas for how to filter or easier find projects based on the information you saw that's collected in the survey. If you have any suggestions, we'd love to hear those in the chat, and those will be shared with the following team to help us, to help them create a map that is useful for everyone who would be using it and help find projects. Okay, and this poll, and yeah. And then just to highlight a couple more of the aspects of this interactive map, there would be direct links to adding your project, So taking you to that survey, additional resources, contact information, help keep everything on the same page or the same, platform, so you're not opening too many web pages on your computer. And then also to have, we'll have a way that you can view the details on the individual project. So that is a scrolling window where you could see, any more detailed information that you were looking for based on the project you selected. And with that, we will again share that link. Rachel will share the links to some of the resources we have available for you guys, including the survey. And so if you feel like today you're feeling eager to submit it, we'd love for you to do that, or send us an email with either your project proposal or a report that could help us take the initial go at filling out that project. So I'll leave this up for a second in case any of you want to scan the QR code. That will take you to the survey link as well. All right. And then with that, we just want to thank everyone who has been involved in this project, especially Allison. She's provided us with tremendous guidance and support throughout this time. All of the people in the advisory group, who many of you are in the audience, who submitted projects to the database, who participated in conversations with us early on, and when we were coming up with the initial ideas for this project and how it could suit all of your needs. And then additionally, staff from the Graham Sustainability Institute who helped with a lot of the visuals and creating the websites for us. And then again, this project was funded by the Dow Company Foundation. But with that, thank you all for listening to our presentation and for coming today. We really appreciate it, and we can open up for any questions that might have come through the chat.